vibration here is in the form of this function. It is say mp cos nt, right. So let us consider the whole situation. If the point of the support of the spring is also vibrating with some external periodic force, that is this one, and the external periodic force we have taken as mp cos nt, then resulting motion is called the force oscillatory motion. Taking the external periodic force to be mp cos nt, the equation of motion, again using the Newton's second law, we get it in the form m d2 x by dt square is equal to mg minus k times x plus e plus mp cos theta. Now we add this term because it is not opposing but it is adding to the oscillation, right. And if we simplify this, we get this equation into the form that d2 x by dt square plus mu square x is equal to p cos nt, where we have used k by m is equal to mu square. So what we see is this is again a differential equation. It's a second order differential equation. There is no first order term present here because we have seen in the last equation that the presence of the first order term was because of the velocity, dampening due to velocity. But here the right hand side is not 0. So this is not that homogeneous situation. Now here we have on the right hand side some function. So this equation is a non-homogeneous type of second order linear differential equation. The next application we see is of deflection of beams. So consider that you are given some beam and you are putting some load on the beam, so that gives the beam some deflection, right. So consider a uniform beam as made up of fibers running lengthwise. We have to find its deflection under given loadings. So we have applied load from here where we keep both this end fixed, right. Consider a cross section of the beam cutting the elastic curve P. So say it is cutting this curve, elastic curve P here, and the neutral surface in the line AA dash, called the neutral axis of this section. And suppose we have this as neutral axis here. This is this if we neutral surface here, neutral surface in the sense that even if you bend it, that surface will not get displaced, right. It's a kind of property we call fixed point kind of property, that it will not move from here. We know that by the Bernoulli-Euler law, the bending moment m about AA dash of all forces acting on either side of the two portion of the beam separated by this cross section is given by m is equal to EI by R, right. So where E is modulus of elasticity of the beam, I is moment of inertia of the cross section about AA dash, and R is the radius of curvature of the elastic curve at Pxy. Now we know that this radius of curvature we can calculate using derivative, and the formula for radius of curvature is given by 1 plus dy by dx square the whole raised to 3 by 2 upon d2y by dx square. This formula we get for the curve, that the banded curve in the center. If the deflection of the beam is small, naturally this dy by dx will become small, and so we can neglect this term. If we neglect this term, then this whole expression, the numerator will become 1, and we have this r becomes 1 upon d2y by dx2, and we get the equation as m equal to EI times d2y by dx2. So this is again a second order differential equation, right, and that help you finding what bending will come if you are putting some kind of loading on a beam. Naturally this has application in many construction field, as well as many mechanical fields as well, right. We have some more terminology related to the deflection of beams. Not only that, we get an equation here, but we also get can find some other kind of physical phenomena using this deflection of beam. For example, we have a quantity called shear force that has definition that it is rate of change in m with respect to position x. So, it is dm by dx, which we may write as ei d3y by dx3, and we can also have another terminology that we call intensity of loading, that also has a representation in terms of derivative, and that is d2m by dx2, or we can write it as ei times d4y by dx4. So, what we see here is that we can have even the fourth order derivative expression that can have some interpretation in terms of physical quantities. Now, what we have seen here are all the application in some other fields of this mathematics, but differential equations have even very major applications in mathematics itself. How? Let us see this, or what are the applications. Consider, so differential equations play an important role in enriching even mathematics. Very important physical phenomena gives rise to differential equations like Bessel's equations, Legendre equations, Laguerre equations, Chebyshev equations, and many. So, these all equations are formed from some important physical phenomena. Now, what is this application in mathematics? First of all, when you try to find solution to such equations, the solutions turns out to be some functions which are not known in closed forms, or what we call them as a kind of series solutions. These solutions to such equations play an important role as they turn out to be orthogonal functions with weight with respect to some inner product. So, this solution turns out to be orthogonal functions. You need to multiply them by some kind of weight when you define some inner product over that. This property of orthogonality is an important mathematical property. We know what is the importance of orthogonality property, right? The orthogonality property help us defining independency. As we know that when you are dealing with force, when forces are applied, two forces are applied and where the direction is perpendicular, they have no impact on each other. So, from that we get some kind of independency. So, that is what the physical experience we have in where we get independency due to perpendicularity or orthogonality. So, orthogonality is important in in a sense that it helps defining independency and hence finding a kind of best approximation. It has some other characteristic as well. The characteristic is it also helps finding series expansion of a function in terms of these orthogonal functions over a suitable domain, right. So, you must be familiar with, say, a kind of series what we call Fourier series. When we try to expand a function in terms of Fourier series, what we see is that cos and sine functions or trigonometric function cosine and sine appear in a Fourier series and they have property of orthogonality. So, if we search for some other functions with similar properties, then that you are getting from solution to such kind of equations called Bessel's equations or Legendre's equations or Laguerre's equation or Chebyshev equation, where you need to define a kind of inner product. Not only that, but if you take the zeros of the solution functions of these differentiable equations, they serve as ideal nodes to approximate many definite integration problems. They are famously called known as quadrature problems. So if you are given an integration and if you want to find approximation to those integral problems, there are many known procedure, right? We may call them Newton-Cotes formulas, but there are another formula, they are also known as Gauss quadrature problems or formulas, and those Gauss quadrature formulas use zeros of these functions as nodes to give the approximate values. Let us take a particular case of Legender's equation. If you take an equation of this form 1 minus x square d2y by dx square minus 2x times dy by dx plus n times n plus 1 times y is equal to 0, where n is a real number, then this equation is known as Legender's equation. We know that to solve such an equation is clearly is not a linear equation, and of course it's a linear equation, but to solve this what we have to do is use the series solution. Now if you solve this equation, and by taking the value of n as positive integers, what you are getting as a solution are the polynomials. That polynomials we represent as p n x, and they are given by a formula that p n x is equal to 1 upon factorial n times 2 raised to n into nth derivative of x square minus 1 raised to n with respect to x, right. So this you get as a solution to the Legender equation for positive integer n. This formula is known as Roderick's formula. If you try some values for n, then you are getting the polynomials like for n is equal to 0, p0 x is 1, for n is equal to 1 we have p1 x is x, for n is equal to 2 we have p2 x turns out to be 1 upon 2 factorial 3x square minus 1, right. You say, suppose you want to find p1 x, you take n1 here, so this is 1 upon 1 factorial 2 raised to 1 d dx of x square minus 1 raised to 1. So derivative of x square minus 1 with respect to x is 2x, and that 2 will get cut with this, so we have p1 x as x. If you want to find p2 x, you take n2, so this is 1 upon 2 factorial into 2 raised to n, so it is 1 upon 4 and 2 times derivative of x square minus 1 the whole square. So you will repeatedly apply the derivative, and that will settle to the expression that 1 upon 2 into 3x square minus 1. If you take say n is equal to 3, you get an expression like p3x is equal to 1 by 3 5x cube minus 3x, and so on. Now if we define, suppose we take collection of all polynomials over the interval minus 1 to 1, and if we define the inner product p and pm, inner product on that collection as p and pm is equal to integration of the product of pn and pm over minus 1 to 1, then we can see that this product, this integration type of product satisfy all the properties of inner product, and when m is not equal to n, we can see that this p and pm inner product is 0. This is the condition which we call orthogonality, right. So we can have the Legender's polynomial as orthogonal polynomials. Now let us take some function f(x), where you want to expand, where you want to express this function f(x) on the interval from minus 1 to 1 in terms of this p n x, this Legender's polynomial. Or suppose if we can write f(x) as summation Cn p n x, where n takes values from 0 to infinity, then we can find Cn. This means that this expression is valid expression, and what value of Cn we get is Cn is equal to 2n plus 1 by 2 integration minus 1 to 1 fx into Pnx dx. So, this whether this Cn you can find or not, that depends upon this integral possible or not. Clearly, if we take fx continuous, then this integration is possible. So, we can have representation of every continuous function in terms of Legendre's polynomial. So, this is one application, it is an expansion of the type of Fourier series, but here we are using Legendre's polynomial for the expansion. So, we call the expansion Fourier-Legendre expansion of fx. Also, if one wants to find approximation to the integral minus 1 to 1 fx dx, then using Legendre's polynomial we can have different formulas called quadrature formulas. We can name them as 1 point quadrature formula, 2 point quadrature formula, 3 point quadrature formula. How we can find 1 point quadrature formula? So, the approximation in 1 point quadrature formula is given by integration from minus 1 to 1 fx dx is 2 times f0. Now, we know what is the Legendre's polynomial of degree 1, that is P1x. P1x is x. So, if I take P1x is equal to 0 means x is equal to 0, then x is equal to 0 is the node. So, we get the value here is 2 times f0. Similarly, if we try the 2 point quadrature formula, then 2 point quadrature formula we get as integration from minus 1 to 1 fx dx as f of under root 1 by 3 plus f of minus under root 1 by 3, and we know that this is the Legendre's polynomial of degree 2. So, what are zeros of this? So, if I equate this to 0, I am getting the value of x as plus or minus root 3, 1 upon root 3, right. So, we can find this value of integral, approximate value of integral, and using 2 point quadrature formula in terms of the zeros of Legendre's polynomial. Same thing we can have if you are interested in finding the 3 point formulas. You can consider this P3x and take the zeros of this P3x. They are found to be 0, minus under root 3 by 5 and plus under root 3 by 5, and hence we get the integral approximation to integral